hardly perceptible, but always there, sweet and secret and clinging, almost hiding in the counter melody. And this was the song of the pearl that might be. For every shell thrown in the basket might contain a pearl. Chance was against it, but luck and the gods might be for it. And in the canoe above him, Kino knew that Juana was making the magic of prayer. Her face set rigid and her muscles hard to force the luck, to tear the luck out of the god's hands, for she needed the luck for the swollen shoulder of Coyotito. And because the need was great and the desire was great, the little secret melody of the pearl, all the phrases of it came clearly and softly into the song of the undersea. Kino, in his pride and young and strength, could remain down over 2 minutes without strain, so that he worked deliberately, selecting the largest shells. Because they were distributed, the oyster shells were tightly closed. A little to oysters not ready to take. Kino moved next to the hummock, and then beside it, under a little overhang, he saw a very large oyster lying by itself, not covered with its clinging brothers. The shell was partly open, for the overhang protected this ancient oyster, and in the lip-like muscle Kino saw a ghostly gleam. And the shell closed down. His heart beat out a heavy rhythm, and the melody of the maybe pearl shrilled in his ears. Slowly he forced the oyster loose and held it tightly against his breath. He kicked his foot free from the rock loop, and his body rose to the surface, and his black hair gleamed in the sunlight. He reached over the side of the canoe and laid the oyster in the bottom. Then Juana steadied the boat while he climbed in. His eyes were shining with excitement, but in decency he pulled up his rock, and then he pulled up his basket of oysters and lifted them in. Good to want a thing too much, it sometimes drives the luck away. You must want it just enough, and you must be very tactful with God or the gods. But Juana stopped breathing. Very deliberately, Kino opened his short, strong knife. He looked speculatively at the basket. Perhaps it would be better to open the oyster last. He took a small oyster from the basket, cut the muscle, searched the folds of the flesh, and threw it in the water. Then he seemed to see the great oyster for the first time. He squatted in the bottom of the canoe, picked up the shell, and examined it. The flutes were shining black to brown, and only a few small barnacles adhered to the shell. Now Kino was reluctant to open it. What he had seen, he knew, might be a reflection. A piece of flat shell accidentally drifted in, or a complete illusion. In this gulf of uncertain light, there were more illusions than realities. But Juana's eyes were on him, and she could not wait. She put her hand on Coyotito's covered head. "Open it," she said, softly. Kino deftly slipped his knife into the edge of the shell. Through the knife he could feel the muscle tighten hard. He worked the blade lever-wise, and the closing muscle parted and the shell fell apart. The lip-like flesh writhed up and then subsided. Kino lifted the flesh, and there it lay. The great pearl, perfect as the moon. It captured the light and refined it, and gave it back in silver incandescence. It was as large as a seagull's egg. It was the greatest pearl in the world. Juana caught her breath and moaned a little. And to Kino, the secret melody of the maybe pearl broke clear, and beautiful, rich, and warm, and lovely, glowing and gloating and triumphant. In the surface of the great pearl, he could see dreams. He picked the pearl from the dying flesh and held it in his palm. And he turned it over and saw that its curve was perfect. Juana came near to stare at it in his hand, and it was the hand he had smashed against the doctor's gate, and the torn flesh of the knuckles was turned grayish-white by the seawater. Instinctively, Juana went to Coyotito, where he lay on his father's blanket. She lifted the poultice of seaweed and looked at the shoulder. Kino, she cried shrilly. He looked past his pearl, and he saw that the swelling was going out of the baby's shoulder. The poison was receding from its body. Then Kino's fist closed over the pearl, and his emotion broke over him. He put back his head and howled. His eyes rolled up, and he screamed, and his body was rigid. The men in the other canoes looked up, startled, and they dug their paddles into the sea and raced toward Kino's canoe.
Okay, so like, if the swelling's going away, that might have meant that his heart stopped. I don't know.
Oh, let's see. Chapter 3. Oh, get some water.
Or his tears of joy.
I hope so.
Well, duh.
Chapter 3. A town. Oh, I like how he starts all of his chapters with a description of like the setting.
Oh yeah, he's good.
A town is a thing like a colonial animal. A town has a set nervous system and a head and shoulders and feet. A town is a thing separate from all other towns, so that there are no two towns alike. And a town has a whole emotion. How news travels through a town is a mystery not easily to be solved. News seems to move faster than small boys can scramble and dart to tell it. Faster than women can call it over the fences. Before Kino and Juana and the other fishers had come to Kino's brush house, the nerves of the town were pulsing and vibrating with the news. Kino had found the pearl of the world. Before panting little boys could strangle out the words, their mothers knew it. The news swept on past the brush houses, and it washed in a foaming wave into the town of stone and plaster. It came to the priest walking in his garden, and it put a thoughtful look in his eyes and a memory of certain repairs necessary to the church. He wondered what the pearl would be worth, and he wondered whether he had baptized Kino's baby, or married him for that matter. The news came to the shopkeepers, and they looked at men's clothes that had not sold so well. The news came to the doctor, where he sat with a woman whose illness was age, though neither she nor the doctor would admit it. And when it was made plain who Kino was, the doctor grew stern and judicious at the same time. He is a client of mine, the doctor said. I am treating his child for a scorpion snake. Snake. And the doctor's eyes rolled up a little in their fat hammocks, and he thought of Paris. He remembered the room he had lived in there as a great and luxurious place. And he remembered the hard-faced woman who had lived with him as a beautiful and kind girl, although she had been none of these three. The doctor looked past his aged patient and saw himself sitting in a restaurant in Paris, and a waiter was just opening a bottle of wine. The news came to the beggars in front of the church, and it made them giggle a little with pleasure, for they knew that there is no almsgiver in the world like a poor man who is suddenly lucky. Kino had found the pearl of the world. In the town, in the little offices, sat the men who shouted and threatened until they reached the lowest price the fishermen would stand. Jews. But there was a price below which they did.
I gotta kill!
And given his pearls to the church. And when the buying was over, these buyers sat alone, and their fingers played restlessly with the pearls. And they wished they owned the pearls. For there were not many buyers, really. There was only one, and he kept these agents in separate offices to give a semblance of competition. Nice. The news came to these men, and their eyes squinted and their fingertips burned a little. And each one thought of how the patron could not live forever, and someone had to take his place. And each one thought of how with some capital he could get a new start. All manner of people grew interested in Kino. People with things to sell and people with favors to ask. Kino had found the pearl of the world. The essence of pearl mixed with the essence of venom, and a curious dark residue was precipitated. Every man suddenly became related to Kino's pearl, and Kino's pearl went into the dreams, the speculations, the schemes, the plans, the futures, the wishes, the needs, the lusts, the hungers of everyone. And only one person stood in the way, and that was Kino, so that he became curiously every man's enemy. The news stirred up something infinitely black and evil in the town. The black distillate was like the scorpion, or like hunger and the smell of food, or like loneliness when love is withheld. The poison sacs of the town began to manufacture venom, and the town swelled and puffed with the pressure of it. But Kino and Juana did not know these things, because they were happy and excited. They thought everyone shared their joy. Juan Tomas and Apollina did, and they were the fat one, and they were the world too. In the afternoon, when the sun had gone over the mountains of the peninsula to sink in the Island Sea, Kino squatted in his house with Juana beside him, and the brush house was crowded with neighbors. Kino held the great pearl in his hand, and it was warm and alive in his hand. And the music of the pearl merged with the music of the family, so that one beautified the other. The neighbors looked at the pearl in Kino's hand, and they wondered how much luck he planned to end. And Juan Tomas, who squatted on Kino's right hand because he was his brother. Oh, they never said that before. Who squatted on Kino's right hand because he was his brother, asked, "What will you do now that you have become a rich man?" Kino looked into the pearl, and Juana cast her eyelashes down and arranged her shawl to cover her face so that her excitement could not be seen. And in the incandescence, it's a pretty shawl. I'll just stand up and hold it somewhere. And in the incandescence of the pearl, the pictures formed of the things Kino's mind had considered in the past and had given up as impossible. In the pearl, he saw Juana and Coyotito and himself standing and kneeling at the high altar, and they were being married now that they could pay. He spoke softly, "We will be married."
You're done!
In the pearl, he saw how they were dressed. Juana in a shawl stiff with newness and a new skirt. But from under the long skirt, Kino could see that she wore shoes. Within the pearl, the picture glowing there. He himself was dressed in new white clothes, and he carried a new hat. Not of straw, but of fine black felt. And he too wore shoes. Not sandals, but shoes that laced. But Coyotito, he was the one. He wore a blue sailor suit from the United States. I think this takes place in Spain.
What?
Because like they talk about King, what's his name? Not King Ferdinand, or one of the kings of Spain, and they talk about France. I don't know why there's natives there, but like
Mexico. You're talking about the Gulf. The Gulf of Mexico.
oh yo, maybe it's Mexico. Yeah, okay, Mexico makes sense. Kino is such a non-Hispanic name though. What the heck?
They say it's a
Anyways.
native. Oh, a native.
Oh, hey, that makes sense now.
The fucking
Alright.
has
Cool. It was in the pearl, the picture glowing there. Oh wait, I already got this. But Coyotito, he was the one. He wore a blue sailor suit from the United States and a little yachting cap. Yeah! Such as Kino has seen once when a pleasure boat put into the estuary. All of these things Kino saw in the lucid pearl, and he said, "We will have new clothes." And the music of the pearl rose like a chorus of trumpets in his ears. Then, to the lovely gray surface of the pearl, came the little things Kino wanted. A harpoon to take the place of one lost a year ago. A new harpoon... Oh, wait, I just said that. Oh, no, a new harpoon of iron with a ring in the end. And his mind could hardly make the leap. A rifle. But why not? Since he was so rich. Kino saw Kino in the pearl. Kino holding a Winchester carbine. It was the wildest daydream, very pleasant. His lips moved hesitantly over this. It was the rifle that broke down the barriers. This was an impossibility. And if he could think of having a rifle, whole horizons were burst and he could rush on. For it is said that humans are never satisfied, that you